Let's go ahead and start with day one. Is the first question I ask everybody. When were you born and raised?
I was born in East Los Angeles in 1961, and I was there till I was 6 years old. Then I moved to a city called La Puente. I was raised in La Puente.
And what was it like back then, being raised in La Puente?
Well, it was nice. It was it's a lot different than it is today. There was a lot of white people there, and there's just a lot different. Now there's nothing but Mexicans and Chinese people there now, so it's a little different.
Do you remember what your childhood was like? Were you guys close?
My mom and dad are still together. Actually, they've been almost married 60 years already. It's been a long time, man. We were always a big family there. We had I had three brothers and one sister. And growing up, my father used to box. He used to be a boxer when he was an amateur fighter. And when my brother and I was 3 and he was 5, we'd go to the gym with him all the time. And I had my actually first. I grew up in the gym.
And what kind of child were you? Were you outgoing? Were you kind of shy?
No, I was very outgoing. I have a daughter. I actually have 2 daughters. One of them is Nicole. One is Chanel. And Nicole is very shy and timid like her mother. And Chanel reminds me just of me, which is kind of scary. She's very outgoing and she talks a lot. It's kind of nice.
And what steered you to boxing, or how did you start going towards that route? Do you remember?
Well, yeah, like I said, my father used to be a boxer. He'd babysit my brother and I, and he'd take us to the gym every single day. Since I was a little kid, I actually had my first fight when I was 3, and we just got involved that way. So we grew up in the gym.
What was it like the first time you started training like a boxer, or the first time you got in the ring for sparring?
To be honest with you, like I said, I was 3 years old, so I don't quite remember what that was like way back then. But I just remember, I grew up in the gym. I grew up doing that, so it was like learning how to walk. I learned how to box. It was kind of like an everyday thing.
Your dad obviously must have been proud of you following in his footsteps. What did your mom think of that?
She didn't want us to fight like most mothers don't want me to fight, but we were just little kids, and she was happy that my dad would take us and babysit us, take us to the gym. I mean, that made her happy, but she really didn't say much about the boxing, except that she didn't want us to box. But we kind of we took that step.
When did you decide to take it a step further, as far as getting into the amateurs or going towards the Olympics, or did you do any of that?
This is the honest truth. I've been in the boxing ring since 1964, and I grew up in the ring the whole time. So it was not like I wanted to like it was time for me to go this way, go that way. It was a natural thing. I was always in the gym, so it just came natural. That was my way of life, was being in that gym working out. So that's like I was raised and trained to be a fighter.
And what was your amateur career like?
I had over 430 fights, and I only lost 8 of them as an amateur.
How do you think of importance it is for a boxer to have an amateur career?
Well, if you really want to make it in the pros, to become a world champion or to become one of the top rated in the world, your best bet is to have an amateur career. I mean, that grooms you for all the rest later on. And for those who don't do that, they go straight to the pros later on in life. It's really tough for them, and a big percentage of them don't make it. Well, everybody has a different answer for the question that you just asked me. But to be honest with you, if you ain't really been in that, if you ain't been in the ring, like for 30 some years like I was, you really don't know what's going on. You really don't know. You kind of get in the after effect of it. You later on in life type effect of it. But I personally think 99% of people that are involved with it and that do it like that will tell you the same thing. An amateur career is very important for a young boxer to become a world-class professional boxer.
And do you remember how or when you decided to jump into the pro ranks?
Well, I'll tell you, look, by the time I was 18, when I turned pro, I had over 400 fights. I've been fighting for many years. Since 1964, I turned pro in 1979. So it was like, that was my destiny. That was something that I I was raised to do. I was raised to fight. Like you raise chickens to fight. Well, I'm the same way. They raised me in the ring in the gym every single day since I was 3.5 years old. So I just knew where my destiny was. My destiny was going to become a professional, become a world champ.
And do you remember the first night you went out to your first pro fight before you walked through the drapes or through the door there to go onto the ring? Do you remember your feeling and how you felt that day?
Oh yeah, I was at the Olympic Auditorium, and I was fighting my first professional fight. It was a 4-rounder, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie. I was very, very nervous because pros. I always think the pros and the amateurs were 2 different things. It's a whole totally different world. I'm sure anybody says it. It totally is. Because in the you get your headgear on, you got your gloves on, your bigger gloves, you got this, you got that, and then they don't. It's just a whole different thing. When you turn pro, you got the little 8-ounce gloves. They tie them really tight, so they make them look like 6-ounce gloves, and you're like getting hit with a brick, and it's a totally different story. And I was very nervous, but I was ready to do it. I knew I was going to do it. I knew I was going to win. I knew I was going to be good at what I did.
I mean, you didn't just fight at any venue, obviously, for your first pro debut. Back in the day, the Olympic Auditorium was considered, along with Madison Square Garden, as a mecca of boxing. And I mean, it takes a history all the way through the 20s. You know, Henry Armstrong. I mean, you name it, has pretty much fought there in the past. Did any of that come to mind while you were getting in there, or when you showed up to the arena that day?
Yeah, actually, it really did. When I first, when they first gave me that first pro fight, they told me it was going to be at the Olympic Auditorium. Like you said, the Olympic Auditorium had been very well known. It was like the Madison Square Garden of New York. And it was like the Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. And I knew that I was going to be able to fight. They would give me a chance to fight in that arena in front of all them people. I mean, you go to Los Angeles, you go to fight in Los Angeles, you have movie stars, you have everybody going to the fights, always. And I knew it was going to be a big thing. I was proud to be in that ring, but I tell you what, I was really, really, really nervous and scared. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was scared too. Scared to lose. I didn't want to lose.
And let's say that match, your professional debut, wouldn't have gone the way you wanted it, and let's say you would have lost. Do you think that would have derailed your career and you'd gone on to do something else?
Well, I'd say, to be honest with you, like I said, I've been doing this since I was 3.5 years old. I had no inkling that I was going to lose the fight. I didn't think I was going to lose the fight at all. I really didn't. But if I would have lost, I've been boxing so long. I mean, I learned that you lose some and you win some. That's the way it goes. That's the way boxing is. And if a one loss is going to ruin your whole life, then you don't even belong in that ring. You understand what I'm saying?
Obviously, I mean, no Alexis Arguello or who he was, and Bernard Hopkins, they lost their pro fights, and they continued, and look what they've become.
Definitely.
So it depends on your mindset and how you take a first loss, and if you could jump back and get back in the ring.
I tell you, in my opinion, a world class and a world class fighter is a fighter who knows that one day he's going to lose, but if he loses, get back on that bike and keep going again. Not quit, not. I mean, there's a lot of fighters out there who fought one fight and lost, and their whole career was ended. They could not get out of that hole. And I can give you an example. My brother Frankie. When my brother Frankie lost his first fight with Bazooka Limon, that big fight, when he lost the fight with Bazooka Limon, that derailed his whole career. He could never get back on that bike and go forward. There was always something wrong. You know what I'm saying? And that's why he didn't become a champion. He didn't do well after that. It derailed him. And I'm sorry I love my brother to death. I'm sorry that happened, but that's one prime example I can tell you about.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that, especially nowadays. Now, I mean, you see like someone that's considered the best, which is like Floyd Mayweather. He's always talking about how he's undefeated and how he is the best because he has a 0 as far as loss. And I think Roy Jones was the same way until he lost. He gets knocked out one time, and he was never the same and started losing thereafter because he lost.
Never.
Yeah, everything he had it built in his head as far as I'm undefeated, nobody can beat me. Once they lose,
exactly.
They don't know how to get back up because their mentality is so set that I better have a 0 loss record or I'm no good.
And you know what, like you just mentioned his name, Floyd Mayweather. And then, I love Floyd. I love his brother Roger. We're friends and everything. I know these guys for a long time. I just feel that if Floyd were ever to lose a fight, Floyd's career, I think, would be pretty much done. Because he's got that mindset now that nobody can beat him. He's invincible.
Absolutely.
And when it happens, you know what? Every dog has his day. I don't care what anybody says, especially in boxing.
And look at the other half of the pound-for-pound best, which is Pacquiao. He has several losses before he became even big, and he took those and kept going with his career. And look where he's at. And he didn't take a loss and turn back and go back and hide in the cave. He came out and he made something of himself. And in my opinion, he is pound-for-pound the best fighter in the world.
Exactly. I totally agree with you.
So go ahead and let's go back to your career. And you just finished your first pro debut here, telling me about it. And you went on and fought so many times. Let's say more than half of your first dozen fights. You fought almost every one at the Olympic Auditorium. What was that venue like at that time in the late 70s when you would fight there? What was it like there as far as the crowd?
Oh, the crowd was great. I mean, that was that's when Eileen Eaton was there and Don Stargin, and that's what we fought for. The venue was a perfect venue to fight at. I mean, the people there were I mean, it was really fun. There was a lot of Hispanic people there. Whenever I would fight somebody from Mexico, and the half crowd would be for them, and half crowd would be for me, and that made it fun. It made it really really fun because they wanted to see me lose, and then I wasn't going to lose. I don't care what everybody said. I was not going to lose my first 20-some fights. I was not going to lose. I had in mind, I was like, okay, I got to make something of myself, and that's what I did. And it was fun to go to that arena and to fight Mexican fighters that were from Mexico because the crowd, the crowd, it was just fun. It was fun. It was fun to get yelled at in Spanish and told that you were going to get your butt kicked in Spanish, and then it didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? It was really fun.
So many of your fights were, especially those early fights, they all ended in the first round or two.
Yes.
Do you remember, was that a strength in your amateur career as well to be a power fighter or heavy-handed puncher?
Well, I'll give you the trick. I'll give you the trick of my trade, and not so many people know this, but I was born a southpaw. I was born left-handed, and when my dad, when I was 3 years old, and my brother Frankie was 5, my dad taught us, how to fight, and we were both left-handed. My dad wanted a left-handed fighter, and he wanted a right-handed fighter. So what he did was he converted me from my left-handed stance, which I was naturally left-handed, he converted me to a right-hander, to be a right-hander. So I never learned how to fight left-handed, but I'm left-handed. I do everything left-handed, but I'm left-handed, and I never knew how to fight left-handed. So my power punch was that left hook, or that left hand, and most people didn't know that, or at the beginning they didn't know that, and when I nailed them, I would knock them out, and so that became the first round knockout became my trade. That's what I did a whole lot of.
But you fought conventional stance.
Yes. From day one, that's how my dad taught me. My dad taught me how to fight like a right-hander. Even though I was left-handed, he taught me how to fight like a right-hander. So at the age of 3, by the time I was 10, I already had been doing it for 8, 7 years. So it was like it came natural. It was a natural thing for me to do was to throw my left hook, which was my power.
The first boxing fight I ever saw was televised, I believe, from the Olympic Auditorium.
Really?
I'm thinking it was live. I'm not sure, but I know we watched it, and it was in 1980. I don't remember the exact date, but it was a fight where Pintor fought Johnny Owen from.
Oh yeah, Luke, as a matter of fact, I was sitting ringside that night when Luke Pintor fought Johnny Owens, and Johnny Owens died. Yeah, it was sad. Number one, the kid was a tough kid.
Yeah.
It was a tough fight. They went toe to toe for all that fight. And at the end, when he got knocked out, he went down, he got up, and then he went. Then he was just out, and then they had to get a stretcher and take him out. I'll never forget that night. It was little. But if you honestly put all the statistics together, you would notice that there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of fights a year. Maybe you get maybe 1, maybe 2 fatalities, and that's it. That's honest truth, but it's going to happen sometime. You never know. In football, guys get killed in football. It's not a whole lot, but it happens too.
Going to the Olympic Auditorium, you've probably seen all these big-time boxers, maybe fighting in the same cards there with you.
Yeah.
Do you remember what boxers or the guys that you looked up to or you were close to back there in the locker room and became good friends with?
Grew up being friends with guys like Danny Little Red Lopez, Bobby Chacon. You name them, I knew them. Everybody that ever fought there was Rudolfo Gonzalez, Superfly Sandoval, Albert Davila. God, you name them. Man, there's so many guys. I can't go on and on and on and on for days. It was cool. Like, back in the day, growing up, I used to actually do sparring sessions with other kids my age when Mondo Ramos was getting ready to fight a world title at the Olympic Auditorium.
Were most of those guys or all of those guys, were they like pretty cool guys?
They were all nice guys. I really didn't ever see anybody that really put their head up like that. I really didn't. They were all very nice guys.
I was a big fan of Bobby Chacon, and he's just like the greatest to me.
Bobby's a good guy. I love Bobby. Bobby's a good guy. He's a little off there today, but it's okay. He's a good guy, man.
And everybody still respects him. Everybody still goes up to him and talks to him.
Oh, definitely. Well, what he did in his career, I'm sure everybody said, man. He was one of the great. He was one of the best. He really was.
And what would you say was your first fight where you said, okay, well, this is my first big test? Do you remember what the first fight was and who it was and where it was?
Yeah, the big first test that I ever had in my professional career.
Right.
Okay, in my professional career, the big test that I ever had was when I fought Howard Davis.
And Howard Davis was one Olympian.
Howard Davis won the Olympics in 1976 when Sugar Ray and the Spinks brothers and all them guys were, Neil Randolph, all them guys won the Olympics. Howard Davis was voted the best fighter of the whole Olympics amongst all them fighters, and he was the one that they had picked to become world champion before anybody else. And till this day, Howard's never held his title. He was a decent fighter. He really was. He was quick as can be. He deserved to get get that Olympic shot. But after the U.S. Olympics, they tried to make a world champion out of him, and I don't think, that when I fought him, I beat him. I don't care what anybody says. I beat him. I knocked him down twice in the fight. Beat him all over that ring. They gave him the decision.
You did knock him down in that fight.
I believe he won the fight because he was Howard Davis, the Olympic gold medalist, who they expected for him to win a world title. They couldn't let a kid from L.A. who had just been an amateur and who was okay come over here and beat him up like he did and give him the fight. They just couldn't do that. They were aiming for him to win the title. There was a lot of that back then, and just about as much is going on today.
You ended up fighting a guy that, later, of course, became Floyd Mayweather's trainer, and now he's a trainer, and now he's a big trainer out there. What do you remember about that fight, and how was he as a fighter?
You talking about Roger Mayweather?
Yes, I am.
Yes, okay. Well, I tell you what, Roger's my friend. I respect Roger. I've always liked Roger. That fight, when I fought Roger, he had just came off getting knocked out by, I can't remember who the guy's name was, but he had just gotten knocked out right before I fought him. Roger was scared. Roger was, I know this for a fact, Roger was scared that he was going to get knocked out again. So instead of fighting me and fighting like he should have fought me, he ran and he held and he ran and he held. That's what he did the whole fight. And I chased, I threw punches. I hit him some shots. I believe I won that. Well, I know I won that fight. And they gave me that fight. And I just,
the judge had it scored kind of closely, even though, like you said, he ran a lot. But they had a few of them had a really close score, or just you winning by a point or two. And then one guy just totally had it for you. So it was kind of weird how those judges, scored like that.
Yeah. Well, look, you're talking about a world champion. Roger, last time I fought him, he was like a 3-time world champion already.
You even fought another guy that became a trainer, Buddy McGirt.
Yes. Yeah, Buddy McGirt was a slick fighter. I knocked him down in the second round. He was a slick fighter. Buddy was a real slick fighter. And we fought back in New York, fought in his hometown. And, I lost the decision, but that's okay. You win some and you lose some.
Since you thought you beat Howard Davis, did you look at it like Buddy McGirt should have been your first loss?
Yes, yeah. Well, actually, right after I lost to Howard Davis, the next fight I fought against Robin Blake. Yeah. And that fight right there was what a fight that was.
Was that a war? I mean, I don't think I ever got to see that.
No, well, you gotta Google it and see it. I'm serious. You gotta Google it and see it. That fight was like I go down, he goes down. It was back and forth. I got cut in the second round. It was a brutal fight. I lost a lot of blood. By the time the ninth round, I was so tired I couldn't even keep my hands up. It's all the blood I lost. And
then you didn't fight it for about a few years thereafter. What happened there? What made you stop fighting there?
Well, I got into some legal trouble. I got into some legal trouble and I had to go away for a vacation for a few years. So that's what happened to me. That's what happened to my career. It was a car accident that I got into, and I was charged with some fatal charges, and I ended up going to prison for. They actually sent me away for 4 years and 8 months.
So you come out of that, you end up getting back in the ring. And you end up doing still pretty good. I mean, you were still I guess maybe your body was conserved in there.
Exactly. What it was, when I went in there, when I went into prison the first time, it was like I was pressing going to the army. When I went into prison, people everybody knew me in California. I mean, and when I went in there, everybody respected me. They even opened up a gym for me inside, and they brought in the boxing equipment for me. I mean, that was really amazing. I was really amazed to see that. Being in prison, but they have this big old boxing gym all set up for me, just for me. It was kind of cool.
You even got to fight against a guy that was pretty big, especially in '90, which was Hector Camacho.
Yeah.
You came up and fought one of the biggest fights probably there against Camacho. What do you remember about that fight?
Well, I remember that after I hit him up, so in the third round, I heard him yell like Al Real after I hit him hard. I heard him yell Al Real, and I felt bad. And after I felt bad, I knew that I had no business being in it because I was not going to try to hurt this guy, and I knew he was going to try to do the same. I knew that for a fact. So it was that blew my whole game. I mean, at first I was in there ready to kill him and want to win a world title, but after I heard that Al, that's in the third round, that just broke my heart. And I was like, I can't do this. And we ended up going 12 rounds, kind of pit-patting.
And then you fight a few more matches, and you stopped fighting in about '94. And almost 10 years later, 8, 9 years later, you decided to come back. How was that, and why did that happen?
Well, I'll tell you, I retired because I started having kids. And one night I was holding my daughter, and I was thinking to myself that, what am I going to do? My daughter was growing up, and she has her father who's all punch drunk and beat up, and in fact, that's what boxers get like when they get older. So I thought, well, what do my daughters do with that? So I decided I was going to retire from boxing, so I quit. And after about 3 or 4 years, I knew I wasn't ready to I shouldn't have quit, so I knew I wasn't ready to quit yet. So I decided to make a comeback and do it again.
And how many kids did you say you had? I'm sorry.
I had 3. I had two daughters, one is 21 today, who's Dakota. One is 18, who is Chanel. Then I had a little boy named Cody James. Cody James today would be, he'd be about 16 years old today. But he passed when he was 5.
Oh, wow, I'm sorry to hear that. What?
He was born with Down syndrome and had a bad heart. And we ended up having 3 open heart surgeries, and he was okay through all 3 of them. But about a year later, after the 3rd one, he ended up getting the flu, and getting the strep throat, and getting the chicken pox, and all 3 combined took his life.
Sorry to hear that.
That's okay. He's in a better place. After my son Cody died, back in 2001, I decided to get away from everything, and I've been away for everything. I still haven't gone back yet. But I'm getting hurt, and I'm not getting any younger. And I know I can do a lot in boxing still when it comes to training and managing and doing this stuff. Like I know so many people in this game. I have so many connections. And what's kind of funny is that all these connections I have right now, I feel in my heart that it's like I'm wasting. It's going away. You know what I'm saying? I need to capitalize on all the people I know and all the things I know, and come back and make it big in boxing. And that's what I plan on doing soon.
Are you in like any kind of organizations or anything like that, or foundations of any sort?
Such as what, like the mafia or something? No, I'm just kidding. We can't talk about that online. You know that. but yes, no, actually, I'm not really. I've been inducted into the California Hall of Fame, and but I'm really big into the California boxing over there. But any really organizations, no.
I don't know. I thought I had heard something about that. You were like in some kind of fundraising foundation or something like that.
Yes. I help kids with diseases such as Down syndrome and different things like that. Yes, I've done many golf tournaments for that and raised a lot of money for that. And like I said, once my son died, I kind of got away from everything. But now I'm keeping my way back into it. You know what I'm saying?
How often do you do those charities?
So when it's full blown, I would do maybe 4 or 5 of them a year. Yeah, what my specialty was doing golf tournaments. Then I do celebrity boxing. I've got 3 celebrities, and then we do some matches and stuff. Raise money for the kids.
Do you have anything in the works in the meantime, like right now that you're working on to do something like that?
I've been talking to Alice Cooper. And Alice Cooper wants me to help him with a golf tournament that he puts on every year. And I told him I would do that as long as I can bring my boxing in too. And he said that'd be great. He said that'd be fine. So we're kind of getting something together with that.
But are you still in contact with a lot of boxers? You said you live in Phoenix, didn't you?
Yeah, I live in Phoenix, but no, I know I can talk to anybody out there. I know Mal Pacquiao. I know all them guys. And I keep in contact with them guys very much so. Yes. Do you ever run into Michael Carbajal while you're there? I see Michael every once in a while. Michael has his own problems going on right now, with his brother Danny and whatever's going on with him. But I see him every once in a while, and when I do see him, it's kind of a high and by kind of thing. Other than that, I really don't see him too often.
How about like anybody like Carlos Palomino or?
Oh, I see Carlos a lot. I see Carlos at a lot of different venues.
Do you know Ruben Castillo?
Are you kidding me? I know Ruben like my little brother. I know Ruben Castillo real good.
I interviewed him a few weeks ago. Man,
Did you really?
Yeah, he had me freaking rolling because my name.
Oh, he is so funny. Ruben's a good guy. Yes, he really is. Yeah, Ruben to me is like my brother. He really is. I've known Ruben since we were in the amateurs, and that was way back.
Growing up, who were some of the fighters that you used to like to watch?
Oh my God, I got a whole lot of like I said, Rodolfo Gonzalez, Superfly. I liked Danny Little Red. I liked Bobby Chacon. I can go on forever. I'm serious. I really can.
The health of boxers years after they leave the game. Is there any time that you feel pains or aches or anything from your life of boxing since you were 3 years old to afterwards? Do you have any like pains that it had to do with boxing?
I'll tell you what. I'll be totally honest with you. Physical pains, I have none. I have a pain in my knee because I hit my car. Other than that, that's the only pain I really have. Physically, pains I have none. In my heart, in my soul, in my mind, I have a lot of pains that I'm not in there still, that I'm not doing it still. That's what hurts. Other than that, I can still say my name right. I can spell my name right. I know what's right or what's wrong. I have no problem with it. And I've been doing it. I did it longer than most people did.
Who would you say was your toughest opponent that you've ever faced?
I'll tell you who my toughest opponent was. His name was Max Cervantes. Max Cervantes was a Filipino. I knocked him out in the second round, and this is no kidding. I knocked him out in the second round. The first round, he hit me with the hardest punch I've ever had in my life, in my liver. My leg got paralyzed. I couldn't move. Kicked my butt all over the ring for the first round. Nobody that saved me because I was getting ready to fall down. Saved me was the bell. When that bell rang, they ran into the ring. They drug me to the corner. My manager, my trainer, drug me to the corner, sat me down, and they attended me to me for that 1 minute. When that bell rang, I stood up. Still couldn't move. I couldn't. I hit me so damn hard in the liver. I couldn't move, and he just jumped on me, and I was getting ready to fall again. And I closed my eyes, and I'm not kidding you. I closed my eyes. I threw that left hook, hoping it hit him, and I hit him right in the chin. When I hit him in the chin, he fell down. He was out. After that fight, I pissed blood for 2 weeks. That's no kid. And my whole career, that was the toughest fight I ever had.
Or if you would have missed that shot there, that hook that you gave him, and the fight would have continued, do you think he would have got you in some trouble?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. That was like my maybe my 7th or 8th professional fight. You know, and I was undefeated. I was winning, knocking people out. If I didn't hit that guy with that left hook at that certain time, I would have lost my first fight by knockout. I'm not kidding you. Would have.
Were you satisfied with when you left boxing? Why or why not?
No. When I left boxing, see, the last one I had, I got disqualified for a low blow, which was the first low blow, and that was the only low blow, and they said disqualified. And my quarterman was Danny Carbajal. He was working with me at that time, and I found out later on that Danny had put some money against me, and he had. I mean, it's even hard. It's even hard to say, but I even had women come knocking at my door like the night before, trying to get in my room, and I found out later they were all sitting by Danny because Danny wanted me to lose this fight, and he didn't. And so yeah, so when I after that fight, when I found out all this happened, I just said, I'm done with fighting. I'm done. I mean, I'm out of this.
It had to do with, your opinion, more with the politics type part of.
Oh yeah. There was a lot of politics. There's a lot of politics, and there's a lot of money in there. And people today, or even back then, they were doing things for money. The greedy people, they do things for money. Even if you're working with your own fighter, and you have him lose just because you get money. That's not right.
Is there anything you would change about your career?
Well, I'll tell you what I would have changed. I mean, because I don't know why. I don't know why this happened, but it took me. I turned pro in 1979. It took me till 1990 to get a world title fight. From 1979 to 1990 to get a world title fight. And I'm undefeated. Today you get guys that fight 11 pro fights, and they're undefeated 11 pro that fight a world title fight. And so that's one thing that I don't understand, and I wish it would have been different. And I would have changed today if I could. But I wasn't the one putting the fight. It was my dad putting the fights together and stuff. But I didn't get a title fight for all them years.
And how would you compare boxing from when you first started and when you were at your prime to today?
Boxers today, let's say the old school guys like Pacquiao, them guys. Boxers today, it's not the same. Trainers aren't the same. The knowledge isn't the same. Everybody's out there trying to make a buck. That's what it's all about. It's all about making that buck. They don't care about about their fighter. They don't care about how they are, about their families, nothing like that. And that's the truth.
Thank you very much for doing this.
Okay, thank you, sir. You have a good day.